If you can do a mile, you can do a mile and a half. The only thing between you and your dream is the next step. Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, a podcast helping women in career and life transitions achieve clarity on their next steps so they can transform uncertainty into an energizing next chapter. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of It's My Time Now Coaching. If you're wondering what's next in your career or life, you are in the right place. Through solo and guest episodes, you'll gain practical tips, tools, and inspiration to help you uncover blocks, gain confidence, and be, do, and have what you want. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. What if that dream you keep pushing aside isn't too big, and you're just one step away from making it real? In this powerful episode, you'll meet Deirdre Wolownick, author, musician, educator, and the oldest woman to climb El Capitan at age 66. She didn't start as an athlete. She started exactly where you may be, with a dream, some fear, and a decision to try. In this episode, you'll learn how to break any goal down into clear, doable steps, how knowledge can erase fear, and why saying yes to unexpected opportunities could be the spark your life is waiting for. If you've ever felt like it's too late or too much, this conversation will shift everything. So let's get inspired, let's get moving, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast, your go-to podcast for everything career and life transitions, reinvention, and rediscovery for your next chapter in life. Today, I'm thrilled to have on the show for a second time a woman who I just had to have back on the show to share her incredible journey with you. Dierdre Wolownick is a powerhouse of a woman, and you can go back to my first episode, number 86, called On the Sharp End of Life, which we actually conducted in April of 2023. Back then, we talked about how at 66 years old, she became the oldest woman to climb Yosemite's iconic El Capitan with her son, Alex Honnold of Free Solo fame. If that isn't enough, Deirdre is a professor. She's an award-winning author, an international speaker, linguist, orchestra conductor, and founder, athlete, airline personnel, tour guide, and performing musician. And she has used all of her many different achievements to craft a simple how-to guide, Success in 7 Steps, that will help you realize your dream goal, regardless of your gender, age, or where you are in life. So I'm just really honored and pleased to have you back on the show, Deirdre. How are you doing?
Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Always fun.
Yes. You've done some really incredible and seemingly impossible things to a lot of people, I would say, in your life. And maybe we just get right into it. As many of the listeners who are tuning in, sometimes they're feeling stuck, right? Because their dreams or whatever they're hoping to achieve in their life seems very overwhelming. And I was reading in your book about how you kind of reduce the overwhelm by kind of emphasizing the order of steps to take. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you can go through that a bit, Deirdre, and why is that order, for example, important? What is it, firstly? Why is it, and why is it important? And how does it kind of reduce that overwhelm in our lives?
Well, yeah, anytime we try to approach a new thing in life, often we feel kind of overwhelmed. And the biggest problem usually, most people I talk to, is they don't know how to start. And starting is the first step, is the most important. And in my book, I go into this in great detail because it's what sets you up for success or failure. There are three big categories of, everybody knows about baby steps. You can do anything by baby steps. Well, sort of. Yes, kind of. That's true if those baby steps are arranged properly. It's like somebody who wants to, I want to run a marathon this year. They'll rush out and buy running shoes, and on Monday morning they start running, and Tuesday they're tired, and Wednesday they say, "I have to go running again."
Right.
And by the next week they're just worn out, and they don't know why they're always hungry and they're always tired, and because they didn't approach it in the right order. Order or organization is everything.
Yes.
In approaching goal, any kind of goal for anybody at any age. So I've broken it down into three big categories of major steps, as opposed to the little baby steps you're going to be taking.
Okay.
And category one has to be for any goal. It doesn't matter what the category is. You want to open a hat shop, you want to open a florist, you want to swim from Cuba to Florida, like that movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the goal is. Category one must be what you need to know. Sit down, make a list of everything that you can find out about that goal, whatever you dream about.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when I was thinking about being a publisher, that was kind of thrown on me. I didn't want to be a publisher, but I had a publisher, had a great book, my first book, and then the publisher went under last minute, like the 11th hour. They just went on.
Yeah.
And so I had the choice, put it back in my shelf and say, well, that was fun, or do it myself. So I became a publisher, and it grew and grew, and it became...
You just became a publisher. But you're not just, because you followed these steps, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I sat down, what did I need to know? And the list was so long. It was kind of daunting, but I made that list, and then I thought, okay, in order to know this, where can I go? I found out all the research and all that stuff. And then, okay, I knew all this stuff. Once you know more about your goal, you can move on to category two, which is what you need to have. You cannot be a publisher if you don't have business cards, if you don't have envelopes. This is back in the 90s when nothing was done online yet. And I had a computer, but I didn't use it much. I was just setting up the book. And so I had to have envelopes. I had to have letterhead to type the letters on. I had to have space in my garage to stock the books once I started selling the book. I had to have all kinds of things. You don't have those things, you can't be a publisher. So step number one is you have to find out what all those things are. You have to know. You want to learn to play the saxophone? Great. Don't go out and buy a saxophone. Sit down, make your list, find out how many kinds of saxophones there are. Find out if you have enough hours in the week to practice. Find out if your spouse is going to watch the kids while you practice. Find out what kind of music you love most and which saxophone is more appropriate. Find out how you ask your neighbors. Are they going to be tomatoes at your window, when you practice? Find out those things first. Otherwise, you set yourself up for failure. You set yourself up for frustration, and that's what leads to failure. So that's category 1 and 2.
Yes.
After you've finished all those lists of category 1 and 2 and started acquiring all the things you need to pursue your goal, then you're ready for category 3, which is unfortunately where a lot of people tend to start. Person who runs out and buys running shoes and says, I'm going to run a marathon this year. They start running on Monday. They didn't do their category 1. Category 1 for runners is enormous. I discovered this the hard way because I kind of started running just with the dog at night. I would take her for a walk, big dog, and I'd try to keep up with her. And so I figured, I'll just run with her. And I had Kmart sneakers. I was running in jeans, and I didn't have the equipment. I didn't have the knowledge. And once I realized what was going on, I went back and I made my list. And category 1 for runners is enormous. If you don't know those things going in, you're setting yourself up for frustration, often in a thing like running, for injury and failure.
Yes.
So category 1 is the most important one. In category 3, when you finally get there, you know enough, you have enough stuff, the equipment that you need, the gear, whatever you want to call that, and the knowledge, and you can go out and start pursuing your goal. And that's the order that you absolutely must follow if you want to approach this dream of yours as lurking in the back of your heart. Right? Oh, someday I would love to fill in the blanks.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. So what you need to know, what you need to have, and then what you need to do. A couple things that come up from that for me is, I, as you mentioned, I think a lot of people often get into the doing phase, right? Yes. Before anything else. So that people are just so used to doing, right? Without...
Well, that too. And we let our enthusiasm carry us.
Right. Which is great, but without the planning of what you need to do and have, then that, as you said, sets you up for failure. But one of the questions I had is, like, you mentioned there's long lists. Like, for example, you're climbing a mountain for the first time and it's like a ton of things. Like, do you sometimes find like that it can get like so long and that people maybe give up, or it's like, oh my God, I can't do that? No.
Once you start hitting your category number 1, it kind of builds on itself, and that's what creates the enthusiasm.
Okay.
Just jumping into category 3 is kind of a false enthusiasm, because you don't know if you're capable yet. You don't know if you have enough stuff. You don't know if you know enough. And from fear and doubt are what stop us from pursuing these things. And fear comes from not knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Fear comes from not knowing or not knowing enough.
Mm-hmm.
So category 1 wipes that out.
Yeah.
Category 1 replaces any doubt or fear with solid knowledge. Yeah, that's what helps propel us towards that goal.
Yeah.
The goal lurks in category 3 only, not in the others.
Right. Okay, that's good clarification. Actually, that reminds me of when in your book you described a moment in the tell story of when you ran your first mile. And you were encouraged by your son. You're very excited. You came home and you ran your first mile, and you said to your son, I ran my first mile. And your son, Alex Honnold, who is very famous, he said to you, well, if you can do a mile, you can do a mile and a half, right? Yeah. And so, and that's what you say, is that learning is the only antidote to fear. So tell us about that. And how did that experience, what he said there in that moment, how did that shift your relationship with fear? And possibility also, right?
Totally. It changed it completely. I had no clue back then about all of this. I hadn't sat down, thought it through. I have been doing this all my life, but I hadn't put words to it. I hadn't put a system to it, structure to it, until I started writing this book. And then it was all so clear. But when I did that first mile, I was not an athlete of any kind. I mean, I was totally sedentary. I was a teacher. I spent my days standing in the classroom, standing in the kitchen, feeding people, or sitting at my desk and doing all that work. So I was definitely not an athlete.
Right.
And out with the dog that night, and by the time we were jogging back to the house, I looked at my watch. I said, my goodness, I've done a mile. This doesn't sound like much. I ran a mile. Ooh, whoop-de-doo. But to me, it was Everest. It was Everest. I knew I couldn't run because my lungs are shot. I grew up in a house filled with smoke. I mean, filled so you could hardly see. And so anything more strenuous, or actually just getting up out of my chair, would make me huff and puff. I knew, quote unquote, that I couldn't run or swim or do anything that required deep breathing. You know? But then we came back that night. I had run or jogged, slow running, a mile. To me, this was Everest. And so I burst through the door and said, Alex, I just ran about. And his response was deflating and inspired both at the same time. He said, yeah, great, Mom. If you can do a mile, you can do a mile and a half. Oh, he didn't celebrate with me. He didn't, oh, yay, go, Mom. It's just matter of fact, this is how it is. And I started thinking about that. And that is exactly the key to everything. That's how he got up El Capitan, over and over, and finally without ropes. That's an outrageous feat. But one step at a time, and you have to know. what's involved, go back to those categories. He's done this all his life. He never put words to it like this. He was the whole idea, but this is the key to that. So I started thinking about it. So I set myself some goals. I did a mile. I needed to know if I could do it again or it was just a fluke.
Yes.
And we did. We went out and we did it again and then it again.
There you are.
And I pushed it to a mile and a quarter or a mile, just another block. Doesn't matter. The increments don't matter. As long as you're pushing the limits a little at a time, the increments don't matter. Just down to the corner and back is more valuable than just sitting home on the couch.
Yeah. It's about facing your own limits, right, Deirdre? Like it's about you set your own, and it's like I think that little nudge from Alex pushed you forward, and I think sometimes that's what we all need. Is we just need that little nudge and saying, "Well, yeah, it's great you did this, but you've got more and you can do more. You can do more." And that's sometimes I think people stop themselves from that. And sometimes it's just about somebody shining the light on like, you can do more. And so
you cannot know what you're capable of until you try.
Yes.
I mean, it never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I could climb El Capitan. Never. I mean, that's outrageous. But chip away at it. You make those lists and you chip away at it. Baby step by baby step.
So inspiring. It really is like just the things that you've done. It's just honestly truly inspiring. And I just want everyone to listen to what she's saying. Is just like capable. You are capable.
Everybody is.
Yeah, regardless of age or ability.
I used to laugh at my son when he was younger. People would say, "Oh, wow, man, that was cool. That was and he would always say, "Well, it's no big deal. Anybody can. Anybody can do this." And everybody used to laugh at that. But now I know he's absolutely right. Anybody, if I can climb El Cap, anybody can do anything, really. And the key is the structure of those three categories.
One of the, that's fantastic. One of the thing that caught my eye in your book was you talk a little bit about what these are called, what you call cosmic circles. And I often talk about this in this podcast and in my coaching is these energy shifts, like the positive and negative energy that's around us. And so you say that when you say yes to these circles, things align. And what happens, it can be the difference between actually accomplishing your dream or just dreaming about it. So tell us a little bit about maybe what that is, how that kind of showed up in your life, and how maybe listeners can really recognize those cosmic circles and how to respond to them. Yeah.
You can call it anything. I mean, it doesn't matter what I call it big cosmic circles. I mean, you can call it God, you can call it nature, you can call it whatever you want. I think of it as, I mean, there are many forces in the universe that we don't know, that we don't understand, that we're not in touch with, that we don't know anything about. Many times in my life, this has happened, that this is going on over here and this is going on over there. And suddenly the two forces or cosmic circles or energies, whatever you want to call those things, they meet, they collide, or they produce an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity.
Right.
When those cosmic opportunities are dropped on you, you have a choice. You can say yes or you can say no. A lot of women are always taught, always say no. No, it's dangerous. Don't go there. It's dangerous. You have to think about what you want out of life and whether you're going to stay on the side of fear or say yes to this new opportunity. So a lot of people say that, well, that was a good experience. I tried it a little bit. That's not for me. Not for me. Oh, that's such an excuse. A lot of things are not. Like climbing a mountain is not for me, but when I set my sights on that, because it was my son's world and I wanted to understand what he was doing and I wanted to understand how the climbers kept themselves safe up there.
Yeah.
It's a biggie for Mom. I would see these pictures in magazines and videos and I think to myself, no, I must be interpreting that wrong. He can't be doing that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand. And so once you set your sights on something like that, a goal, that's when you get out your pen, your paper, or whatever, computer, and start making the list for category number 1. What do you need to know about that goal. You want to open a florist. What kind of flowers? What climate zone do you live in? Are you going to sell at a store or out of your house? Do you have enough money to pay an employee? Do you have the list goes on and on and on. And if you don't know those things, if you don't arm yourself with all that information going in, you're setting yourself up for frustration, which leads to failure. You'll think of it as, oh, it wasn't for me. It wasn't in the stars or what. There's all kinds of excuses. I'm too busy. I don't have the time. That's a biggie.
And then when you start doing those things, then the energy gets like that positive energy, like that enthusiasm gets created. And then that's when people and things maybe come to you, as you said, in their circles. And that's when you open it, your things open up that maybe hadn't been opened up before just because you took those steps, right? That's
exactly. You have opened the doors and now these opportunities can go doors.
Yes. Yeah, I totally believe that. But you have to be aware and open to them and understand that they're at your doorstep and actually say yes to them, right? Saying yes is very important. Yes. Right. Yeah. So just maybe a little bit on a different note, many of the women and one of the people listeners here are kind of in the mid stage of life. And this is a time when we're kind of losing touch. Maybe we've kind of lost, we don't really know what our identity is. We've kind of lost touch. Maybe we've been pouring into others for our whole lives. And it's like, who are we anymore? And you say that if you don't fully know who you are, you can't commit to anything. For somebody who's really feeling kind of disconnected with themselves, how do you suggest they begin rediscovering who they are?
Yeah, this is a very important first step. I mean, I was in that category. I had no life for myself for decades. I had nobody to talk to because I was in this miserable marriage and I was in a state where I knew no one. We had moved back from Japan to California. I had never lived there before. I knew no one. I had no friends. It was a miserable situation. And the easiest first step, if you're feeling lost like that, or drowning, all kinds of, anyway, the easiest first step is journaling. Pick up a pen. Journaling is better done with your hand, not with a keyboard. There are many, many physiological reasons for this. There's a direct connection between your hand and your brain that does not exist on a keyboard. And all kinds of wonderful things will happen that way that might not happen at a keyboard. So I recommend starting with pen and paper. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't know how to keep a journal. I don't know what to write about. It doesn't matter. You set your timer for 5 minutes. Okay, everybody can find 5 minutes in a day. And no matter what your life is like, everybody can find 5 minutes. Shut the door, turn on some nice, soft, classical music or whatever you can concentrate with. Nothing with words, nothing vocal.
Right.
And just start writing, set that timer, and don't stop writing until the timer stops. Writing it should be unmonitored. Don't think about the grammar, the punctuation, and all that nonsense from school. Just put your pen to paper and start writing at the beginning. It doesn't matter. The process is the goal here.
Right.
And that process will lead you to enormous self-discovery if you allow it, if you follow it. Set your timer for 5 minutes. Next month, maybe set it for 7 minutes. Or next, whatever. And as the discovery process opens and increases, you will need more time.
Yes, I totally believe that. I mean, I journal every day, and I share that with my clients as a very, very effective way of taking out whatever's in your heart or any doubts you have, just bringing it forward. And I think it's really important to do that, but also it's important to have the proper prompts. Maybe I know that there's several in your book that you have actually practical exercises to go through. So that's really helpful. Is if you don't know what to write about, then just pick up some guides to do that. And it really allows you to have that discovery. And I totally agree with you. But if you don't really know who you are to begin with, then it's really hard to understand where to go from there. So, and one other thing that struck me and that you've talked about is that you say that not following your heart and not pursuing your dream creates a line of pretense. So that makes you like a fraud, pretending you're something you're not. This is that imposter syndrome that sometimes people feel. So how can we avoid that? Or how can we, I know that's probably a big question, but just how can we kind of take control of our own decisions and live our own life versus somebody else's version of what we think it should be?
We are such victims of other people's thoughts. And often we don't realize it. But when I was a kid, my brother would always laugh at me if I would sing. He'd say, "Oh, you can't carry a tune in a basket." So for decades, I was convinced I should never sing in public or for anybody. I have a fine voice. I really do. And I went on to sing in choirs, and I've sung on stage. But we believe these things because we are vulnerable as children. We are very vulnerable as children. We believe what people say. Your family might tell you, "Oh, you're so clumsy." And then you begin to believe it.
You believe that.
And if you believe you're clumsy, you're not going to go out for something athletic because like I knew I couldn't run. You know that you can't do that. And you've gotten that message from other people. That's where a journal can come in handy. It's so hard and so important to tune out other voices, to tune out especially the media. If you're a woman, you should be doing this. If you're 40, you should be taking this drug. If you're 50, you should be taking this to help you fall asleep. Turn that junk off.
Yeah.
Turn it off. Ignore it. I had a friend who, she and I, after I started running, she and I started running together. We did half marathons. We did all kinds of races together. And I asked her once, "How do you train for your half marathon?" And she would say, "Well, I go running 2 or 3 times a week, but I'm not a real runner." And this is so common. This was so common. She was suffering from imposter syndrome. Yeah. People had told her, well, you're too skinny. You're too this. You're too that. You're a mom now. You shouldn't. And so she believed it. And in her mind, she was not a real runner. She was doing half marathons. Later on, went to do marathons. That's definitely a runner.
Right.
But she believed it.
Yes.
And you have to explore that and figure that out for yourself before you go after any big goal in your life. Yes. Because it will stop you. It will stymie you. It will warp your thinking about whether you can do this. Yes. You can't do whatever you choose to do. Whatever you really, really want to do, you can do with these categories and these steps.
I totally agree with you, Deirdre, is that I have clients that come to me and they want to start, let's say they really want to start a new business, let's say, right? Yeah. And of course, when you start something new, you're going to be at the beginning stage. But what they do often is they look at people that are like 20 steps ahead of them. And then it's like the comparison tracks. Right. And then the judgment, I don't think I would never get there because it's a judgment. And then they feel like, who am I to do this? So this is just an imposter. I can't do this. And I often say, well, you're why are you comparing yourself to, it's okay to compare maybe like to be motivated by somebody maybe a few steps ahead of you who is something that you think, but don't say that I'm not going to ever get there or I'm not good enough to get there. Rather use as a motivation that, I'm going to do that and even better, or I can do that or even better, or not even better, but in my own way, right?
I have to add something to that.
Yes.
You should never compare yourself to anybody but yourself.
Exactly.
Your prior self, your younger self, your more uninformed self,
or even your older self, like thinking about when you are, where do you want to be when you're 20 years from now, right?
Yourself. Oh, yeah. I've known people who went through life comparing themselves to everybody, and other people are always going to be richer than you, have a prettier house than you, and there are other people who are poorer than you and have a lesser house than you. You can't. That's invalid. 100%. The only person you compare yourself to is yourself.
As long as that motivates you, like if in a way, like it's like, oh wow, I am so motivated by this, that's what pulls you forward. Okay. That's what I was saying, right. Is like not to
inspiration. Yeah, inspiration.
As inspiration, like you, right? So
like my son, inspired me.
So the book is the 7 steps, success in 7 steps. And in your final step, you talk about the power of being over prepared. And I think you kind of refer to that in not step 1, what you need to know. So, but maybe you can, I don't know if you want to give away all the steps, but if you want to walk us through how these work together to help somebody achieve their dreams, or just kind of an overview how, because it's as you said, like it can be a small goal, it can be a very, very huge goal, it can be something that seems doable, or it can be something that seems impossible. But this kind of formula could work for, as you said, any time. So
any goal, any age, any gender, that doesn't. None of that matters. And as you said, kind of an overview. Over preparation is that overview. Over preparation is the key to success in anything. And we know that from school. Over preparation is what homework is. When you go home and you do your 10 problems that she gave you for homework, then you begin to learn it. Over preparation is where the actual learning takes place. The thing that's on the cover of that book, the mountain, the peak.
Yes.
10 years ago, I would never have imagined that I could climb that. That's me on that cover. That little dot.
Oh, is that? Top. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yep.
That little dot.
Yes.
The word step.
Yes.
That's me coming down from the peak.
Wow.
10, 20 years ago, I would never have imagined that I could do that.
Yes.
Never.
Yes.
I started with learning everything I could about it, and I got the gear and got friends who would climb with me, and I would learn from them, and little by little. But you have to do it in the correct order. Those categories are the key.
That's amazing. And I think this podcast is called the Midlife Reinvention, and I think one of the, it doesn't even have to be midlife. It can be any time in life. If one of the biggest, I think, hurdles I would say to reinvention is really understanding and redefining what success really means. And success, as I think we've talked about, is very personal. And failure really, I think, only happens when we stop trying, right? So you have accomplished so many amazing things. And so how has your own definition of success evolved over this time? And how can we even begin to measure our own definition of success?
Success is a problematic word. A lot of people read a lot into it. That has nothing to do with success. Success is reaching your goal. Failure is stopping, if you stop trying. It's like you know who invented the light bulb? Thomas Alva Edison.
Edison, yes.
Yeah. He tried over 10,000 ways to do that. 10,000 ways to do that. He wrote about it in his journal, which has become public. If he had stopped at 9,000, somebody else would have come along and used his research, and they would have invented the light bulb. But he kept on. He did not stop trying. And then all of a sudden, there it was. My son, he talks about he trained for 2 years to climb El Capitan without rope. No. He trained for at least 10 years. Wow. Every time he would leave the house, and I'd say goodbye. I knew that I might never see him again because I knew what he was doing. And I'd say, where are you going this weekend? Oh, I'll be working on El Cap. He did that for like 10 years. So it's not a goal can be far-reaching. A goal could be closer. It took me 18 weeks to train to do El Cap, but I had already trained many years before that to learn how to climb, to learn the gear and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's success is reaching your goal. Success is not giving up. Success is that 10,000 tries to get a workable light bulb. And if you give up, that stops. If you say, oh, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, my kids need me more, I don't have the time, whatever your excuse is, if you stop trying, that's failure.
I love that. I really love that. Success is reaching your goal, and failure is when you stop trying, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. I love this. I love this conversation because when we see somebody like you and we hear from you and you've not only, you talk about it, but you've actually done it. So, and you've actually created a method whereby people can follow to reach their own individual goals. And it does not have to be climbing El Capitan. It can be running a mile or whatever. if you could share where to find the book, where we can find you and all the good stuff so that people can
this is what it looks like. Success in 7 Steps. Available on Amazon or any of those others online. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if the bookstores have it yet, the physical bookstores have it yet, but they will eventually. Deirdre Wolownick is my, whatever you call that, on Instagram and Facebook, Deirdre Wolownick. You can get the spelling from Amazon. Mm-hmm. And it's I hope to share this with everybody on the planet because everybody has this little sneaking goal in the back of their mind that distracts them from life. And someday I would love to learn to ski. Someday I would love to open a flower shop. It doesn't matter how big or how small a goal, any goal, this is the key to get there, to not give up.
Much appreciated. I really appreciate you sharing your insights and your experience. And I can't wait to see what's next for you. I really encourage everyone to pick it up. And again, I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
What if your dream isn't out of reach, but just out of order? Today, Deirdre reminded us that success isn't about giant leaps. It's about knowing what you need to learn, gathering what you need to have, and only then taking action. She's living proof that age, doubt, and fear don't stand a chance when you commit to yourself with structure and heart. If her story has lit a spark in you, please don't let it fade. Whether you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed or just unsure where to begin, I'd love to help you map out your next chapter with clarity and courage. Book a free breakthrough call with me today, and let's explore how to turn your maybe someday into a confident now. The link is in the show notes, so don't hesitate. Until next time, my friend, keep stepping forward. Your reinvention starts with one powerful decision.